Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, students. Today our topic is chemical bonding, and let's check its learning objectives first. We will explain the formation of ionic bond. We will define and give examples of ionic solids. We will explain the formation of covalent bonds. We will define and give examples of simple molecular solids. We will explain metallic bonding, and we will relate structure of sodium chloride to its properties. Along with this, we will distinguish between ionic and simple molecular solids. We will explain the term allotropy, and we will define and give examples of joint molecular solids, and we will relate the structure of diamond and graphite to their properties. Dear students, the electronic structure of noble gases, let's discuss. Noble gases like helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon, they are the part of group 0 in the periodic table. This is also called group 8. They are very stable, that's why they are very unreactive. They do not make bonds with other atoms because they have fully filled their valence shells with their valence electrons. Except for helium, which has 2 outermost electrons, all the other noble gases have 8 outer electrons. It means the outer shell of 8 electrons is called an octet structure. They have completed their octet, and this octet makes the atoms very stable. For example, helium, neon, argon. Atoms of other elements become stable just like the noble gases. They have 3 options: either they lose electrons, or they gain electrons, or they share electrons. So they can achieve noble gas configuration by making bonds with other atoms. Mainly, if we discuss the types of bonds, overall major 2 types of bonds are there. Covalent bond is because of the sharing of valence electrons. This sharing takes place between non-metals, while ionic bonding is the complete transfer of electrons, and this complete transfer takes place between metals and non-metals. Metals lose electrons and non-metals gain electrons. So let's discuss ionic bonding first. Here is an example of the formation of sodium chloride. When sodium reacts with chlorine gas, sodium is the metal. Sodium metal atom loses 1 electron because sodium group number is 1, so it can lose only 1 electron. Electronic configuration, if we check for the sodium, its proton number is 11. So in the first shell there are 2 electrons, in second 8 electrons, and outermost 1 electron. This outermost 1 electron can be lost, so sodium atom changes into sodium cation, losing its 1 electron. When chlorine atom gains this electron, chlorine changes into chloride ion with -1 charge, because chlorine, if you check its configuration, atomic number 17, it can gain 1 electron because outermost it has 7 electrons. It is in the need of 1 electron to complete its octet, so chlorine atom changes into chloride ion. In this way, we are having 2 types of ions, positive and negative. Do check this diagram. Sodium atom is giving its 1 electron to the chlorine atom, and finally sodium ion is with +1 charge and chloride ion is with -1 charge. This is called ionic compound. They have strong electrostatic forces of attraction between them. Here is an example of another ionic compound. This is between magnesium metal and chlorine gas. Magnesium group 2 member, it can lose outermost 2 electrons, changes into Mg plus 2, and each chlorine atom gains 1 electron from this magnesium and changes into chloride ion. In this way, there is the formation of magnesium chloride. Let's have a quick check for this discussion. Ionic bonds are formed between dash and a dash. It means ionic bonds are formed between metals and non-metals. A metal atom loses an electron to make a positive ion, while a non-metal atom gains an electron to become a negative ion. So the oppositely charged ions attract each other to form an ionic compound. An ionic bond is formed by the transfer of electrons. Now the question is aluminum oxide an ionic or covalent compound? Yes, we will say aluminum is metal and oxygen is non-metal. So the bonds between metals and non-metals are ionic. Aluminum will lose electron and oxygen will gain electron. So what will be the formula for the aluminum oxide? Its formula will be Al2O3. Yeah, let's check the solutions. Ionic bonds are between metal and non-metal. Of course, metal will lose electron and will change into positive ion, and non-metal will gain and become a negative ion. So these oppositely charged ions will attract each other. They will make ionic compound. So its ionic bond is the formation of the bond because of the transfer of electrons. So aluminum oxide is ionic and formula will be Al2O3. Let's have a look on the covalent bonds. It's between the non-metals. For example, hydrogen atom has only 1 electron in its outermost shell. This is its innermost also and outermost also because its proton number is 1. So to achieve the electronic configuration of the helium, it will have to share its 1 electron. So by the sharing of one pair of electron between two atoms of hydrogen, we will get H2 molecule. So covalent bonds are actually the sharing of electrons. Sharing will take place between the non-metals. For example, here is the diagram for the oxygen. Group number of oxygen is 6. So valence electrons are 6. So every oxygen will share 2 electrons. So overall total 4 electrons or 2 pairs of electrons will be shared to make O double bond O. Oxygen molecule has double covalent bond. So do check the methane. Methane is made by one carbon with 4 hydrogen atoms. Every hydrogen has only 1 electron and every carbon has 4 electrons. That's why 4 electrons of carbon have been shared by 1 electron of each hydrogen to give 4 single covalent bonds. Do check the example of water. Water is made by the sharing of electrons between oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atoms. Oxygen is going to share 1 electron with another electron of hydrogen. So water has 2 single covalent bonds. So let's have a quick check to the joining of atoms to form the molecule. What is the type of this bonding? This is the covalent bonding. So the two types of bonds are covalent bonds and the ionic bonds. Covalent bonds are formed by the sharing of electrons and ionic are formed by the transfer of electrons. So the covalent bonds are formed between non-metals. So just check. Joining gives you bonding. Overall you may name it as the chemical bonding. If the joining is between the non-metals, it's the covalent one, and it's between the metal and non-metal, then it's ionic. So covalent bonds are made by the sharing of electrons. Ionic will have transfer of electrons, and covalent bonds are formed between non-metals. So overall, let's have the recap. We have discussed two types of bonds, ionic bond and covalent bonds. Ionic bonds are made by the complete transfer of electrons between metals and non-metals, while covalent bonds are made by the sharing of electrons. This was about the main two types of chemical bonding. covalent bond and ionic bond. That's all. Goodbye.